entire course focused on one thing, to make you understand the basics of EDM mixing and mastering. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Bram Vidder, a DJ producer and mastering engineer at a studio I run called This Mix is Sick. As a DJ and producer, I'm signed to labels such as Spinning Records, and I'm mastering for clients all over the world with big hit records that got over millions of streams on pretty much all the labels that are out there. I'm super excited for this course because I want you to learn the most easy and to the point way of mixing and mastering EDM. There's a lot of videos out there which are absolutely great, but in this particular course I'm focusing on teaching you the basics. So yes, after this course you can mix and master EDM music without difficult plugins, without buying plugins. You can even do this with stock plugins and in every DAW. So I'm super excited, and for this course I'm using my own track together with Laws called Every Night, which is out right now. I'm using this track as a demo for demonstrating the techniques I'll be using in this course, so that you understand what it will take to make a song from being a production that's finished, a production that's mixed, into a master-ready release. So, let's not waste any time and let's jump right in. Here we go. The EDM mixing and mastering fundamentals. Let's start at the start. After the production is finished, it's important to say, alright, this track is finished, it's time for mixing. How can you know that it's ready for mixing? Simply listen to the track and be sure that production-wise everything is produced as you want. When you work for someone else, then you don't have to worry about this. But you have to worry about this first step, which is, as we can see here in the Finder, your stems. Right now, the stems in front of me are well named, easy to understand, and very structured. This is very important because this way you already start with an understandable file name structure. Very important, so don't miss this step. It's an important note as well to keep in mind that if you are mixing and mastering your own music, it's really beneficial to export the stems and not work in the production session. This saves so much CPU and makes sure that you're not, tempted to go back into the production and make a clear move and decision to go into the mixing stage. Keep that in mind. So, let's go into the DAW, let's drag in these stems and take it from there. So, right now our stems are loaded into the session, and before we start, we need to export our premix. This will give us a guide of any changes we make during the process, so we can A/B with the before and after. By exporting the premix, I mean exporting literally the sound that plays when all these stems together are being played back. Let's do it. So there we got the premix. Now we can start with the structure of the session. As you can see, we got our session right now here, and all the stems are white colored and they are in a random order. Now, to get a really focused workflow, I highly advise you to first do this step, which is the planning of your session in a way that you understand it very easily. What I like to do is start with the vocal on the top, then have the effects right underneath, have the synths and instruments right underneath that, have the drums underneath that, and on the bottom have the kick and the bass. This way, the overall way your session is built up kind of represents the frequency spectrum, because you got your bass on the bottom and your vocal on the top, because the vocal is the most important and you can mix from bottom till top. So let's do that, and let's make sure that we got that implemented in this session right here. So we first pick the kick, we pick the bass, the sub bass, and we pick the bass shot. We make it into a group and we put it on the bottom. We call it kick and bass. Then we get all the drums and we put it right above that. Then we get together all instruments, put it on top of the drums. Then get together all the effects, and we pull the remaining stems into the right groups. And we need to make the vocal group, of course. Now let's close them all up, and we have this very straightforward order. Let's give some colors. Move the vocal up a bit. Here we go. Now we have a clear view of the entire track. All the green stems are instruments, the white ones are the effects. Everything that's blue represents the vocal, the red stems are the drums, and the dark red stems are the kick and the bass. This is the way I like it, and make sure to develop or copy a way that you can implement for yourself, so you can really have a specific way of working with different songs. This will help you be so much more focused and have a way better result, because you're just really effective. Alright, so we finished our session planning and it's time for the next step. So now let's go into the fun part. Let's first listen to the song and then go over the first super important step into mixing this song, which is leveling. And during listening to this song, I want to ask you to try and focus on what needs to be changed level wise. What needs to be louder? What is maybe a bit overwhelming? Do you feel the song? And is every channel present in the sound? Are there elements that's sticking out in an unpleasant way? These type of questions are very important. So during the listening of this song, I want you to take this in mind and try to already think what needs to be louder and what needs to be quieter. Let's listen. So as you can hear, super dope song. It already sounds really well produced and it's ready to get brought up to the next level with some powerful mixing and mastering in a simple way with stock plugins. So we're not going extremely in depth, but we're going to do everything that you need to do, the fundamentals, to get it sounding absolutely fire. So let's go. And we had a listen. I'm curious if you also pointed out some things on this track that need to be brought up and brought down. But if you would ask me, I would say that the bass could be a bit more intense. The bass sound, so not the sub frequencies, but the bass itself. So the more higher and upper mid range frequencies of the bass sound a bit far away. They don't sound really present and they sound like they are a bit too quiet. Then I would say as well that the drop vocal sounds too far away as well. While in this track there is no real drop melody. So I would say that the vocal actually is most of the drop, it's power, it's hook. So I would say to definitely bring it up. So let's keep it simple and let's just adjust those things on the levels. No effects, only levels here. Let's loop the drop for this step. And then I'm looping the most busy part of the drop, because if this part is mixed good, then mostly it represents an overall good mix and master as well. That said though, it's always of course needed to listen to the overall track as well. But to start, it's very, very effective to just focus on looping the most busy part of the drop. So I just did the vocal a bit louder and I did some adjustment on the bass and the top bass. Let's listen to the before and after and hear the difference these simple level changes made to the track. Let's listen to the before first and then the after. Simple changes, but if you would ask me, I would say it's really, really powerful. And it's so easy to think that you need to drop 10 plugins on every channel and stuff like that. But this course really, really is based on the fundamentals. Make sure that your levels are right. Make sure that you feel your track. Make sure that every element is loud enough. And make sure that it's balanced in a way that sounds super, super powerful. So now that we got a powerful balance going on, it's time for the next step, which is EQing all individual channels, of course only if they need EQ. And what we're going to do is a simple method that you can use for your tracks as well. We're going to solo the kick first and build it up from there. And whenever a sound gets added where you feel it needs a boost in a specific area because it's lacking some loudness only in that area, then we're going to increase that with EQ. If you feel the other way around, that some frequency range is adding dirt or making other stuff blurred, then we're going to decrease that. Of course, you can use reference tracks in your own session, but in this course, I really want to focus on making it specific for your track, because every production is different. And this is a very, very structured way to work on EQing with your track. I'm not using a third-party plugin for this. I'm using the built-in stock plugin by Ableton because it's a plugin that everyone has in their DAW so that you can use it as well. Let's start by building up the track, and I will do some EQ moves so you can tell from that how I go about this. So let's go. So now that we did our EQ moves, we're going to listen again to before mixing and after leveling and EQing. Caution, the difference already is so big. I'm excited to present it to you. Let's go. So now you can see that EQing and leveling are two of the most powerful mixing and mastering techniques, and a couple of things I want to dive into a bit more on EQing. I used only a simple EQ here and I didn't really go into moving the Q and all that stuff because I want to show you that you can get great results with a simple EQ. With your built-in stock free plugin, you can already get so far. So, a couple things. If you are boosting an area, try to listen to the area that makes you feel like it's the area that you want to adjust. So if you, for example, hear a reese, like here, there I felt that the ripping crisp on top, the wah, that's dope. That's what you wanna have ripping through the speaker. So what did I do? I did a high shelf all the way from 1K and up. Let me bypass this and you can exactly understand what I mean by tackling the area that you want to, that makes you feel like it's the area that you want to adjust. So it's subtle, but all these subtle things make big differences on your track. So we're closing this chapter, we're going into the next, and that's super exciting as well. It's been so cool showcasing the effect of leveling and EQing. Simple moves, but often overlooked, and so important to really have a proper understanding of the EDM mixing and mastering fundamentals. Let's go into the next chapter. So now that we got the track balanced and all the individual channels EQ'd where needed, we can focus on the groups, because the groups together can really benefit from added and reductive EQ as well. So let's have a listen to the drop again, and let's try to enhance the overall track by EQing the groups. Let's go. loving what I hear. It's just a really powerful way, and EQing the groups makes the group sound more unified as well. Let me explain that a bit more. If you EQ or add any processing on one specific sound, it changes that sound. But if you apply it on an entire group, this way you shape the sound of the entire group of instruments, which is super beneficial for a more unified group. And you can really hear in this example that it does a lot to the track. Let's listen to the before and after one more time, and then go into the next chapter. Huge difference, and I think it sounds really, really amazing. But we're not at the end yet, so let's get into the next chapter. We're going to talk about compressing the master bus. Let's go.